Hello, everyone, and welcome to English Pod. My name is Marco.
My name is Catherine, and today we've got another lesson all about food and eating.
So today we're going to talk about all the tools that we use when we're at the table. So what we use when we're eating.
That's right. So let's take a listen to today's dialogue, and when we come back, we'll talk about some of these words and some of the great phrases you're learning today.
Honey, can you set the table?
Sure. What are we having for dinner? Do I need to put anything out in particular?
Well, make sure to put out the pepper and salt shakers. I don't know if your brother is coming tonight, so set an extra placemat just in case.
Okay, should I use the fancy silverware?
Yeah, go ahead. Forks, spoons, and knives. I roasted some meat, so be sure to put out some steak knives as well.
I'll also set some cups and saucers for some coffee after dinner.
Honey, have you seen our soup bowls?
They're in the cupboard where you keep the gravy boat and serving dishes. Just be careful because the wine glasses are also
Oops.
All right, we're back. So now let's take a look at a couple of words in language takeaway.
Language takeaway.
So our first word is a very important one. You might have heard it before. The word is silverware.
Okay, silverware. Now this means that it's usually made something that's made out of silver, right?
It could be. Maybe traditionally it's made out of silver, but it doesn't have to be. You could have wooden silverware or other metals. It's basically the things that you use to eat food with.
Okay, so we're going to take this as a category. Silverware are all the tools that we use to eat food with. And in this, so for example, a fork is a part of a silverware.
It's a kind of silverware, fork. A fork is the one that you usually put in your mouth with a piece of lettuce or meat or something.
Okay, so it's pointy. It has like 4 little points. Mm-hmm. Now, the one that we use to have dessert or to have soup with, we call that a spoon.
A spoon, that's right. So to eat yogurt or ice cream, you use a spoon. And finally, to cut things, you use a knife.
Okay, so in the dialogue, we saw the plural form, knives, but singular, it would be knife.
That's right. And sometimes there are foods that are very, very hard to cut. For example, steak is very hard to cut because it's a tough meat. And so in that case, we use a steak knife to cut it.
Okay, so we have a knife or a steak knife. Steak knife, more specifically, is used to cut meats.
All right, so these are 3 kinds, or actually 4 kinds of silverware. Of course, there are other kinds, but those are the most important. After that, though, we have something that's important for making your food taste better. So what if I want to add salt or pepper? What are those things called?
Those are called salt and pepper shakers. We saw them in the dialogue that we need to put out the pepper and salt shakers. So the little thing where you keep the salt is called a shaker.
That's right, because the action, the verb, is to shake. That means moving your hand up and down so some salt will fall out onto your food.
Exactly. So usually it's only salt and pepper that we keep in these things, in these little shakers.
Mm-hmm.
But apart from salt and pepper shakers, when all the silverware we're putting out, we're also putting out some saucers because we're going to have coffee later on.
Okay, so this normally goes together with cups and saucers, but everyone knows what a cup is. What is a saucer?
So a saucer is this little plate that you put under the cup when you're having coffee. So usually that's where you keep your spoon or maybe the little bag of tea.
Okay, so a saucer is important because it also helps in case you spill some coffee or tea, so the coffee or tea doesn't go on the ground, it goes on the plate.
Exactly. So that little plate is called a saucer. Now, where do we keep all the plates, all the silverware? We usually keep them in a cupboard.
Okay, so you might want to say cupboard because it's cup, C-U-P-B-O-A-R-D. That's not right. The word is pronounced cupboard.
Okay, so even though it may seem like you should pronounce cupboard, the correct pronunciation is
cupboard.
Cupboard.
And a cupboard, like you said, is usually in the dining room or the kitchen because it keeps all of our plates and bowls and sometimes our silverware.
That's right. Okay, so actually in the cupboard we also have some other things, dishes. Well, specifically, we have a gravy boat in there.
Okay, so I'm not even sure why they call it a boat, but a gravy boat is basically a special dish. It's like a tall bowl with a spout, so you can pour it, that keeps gravy. So gravy is like a liquid or a sauce that goes on top of meat or potatoes.
I guess it kind of looks like a boat. Just imagine a boat, but inside it's empty. So then that's where you put the gravy in.
You pour it.
You can pour it.
All right, and so we can find that. We can also find serving dishes, which are basically big plates or bowls that we use when we're having dinner at the dinner table to keep, for example, a turkey or a roast.
And specifically, we were also looking for wine glasses.
Well, maybe we weren't looking for them, but they found us because the person getting stuff out of the cupboard dropped some wine glasses. These are very, very easy to break. Wine glasses are basically just glasses that maybe are tall and you drink wine out of them.
That's right. So there's a specific type of glass usually used to drink wine. So wine glasses. I guess a normal glass that you use to drink maybe juice or water is just called a glass.
Right. You wouldn't say wine glass. Only when you're drinking wine.
Okay, so we've taken a look at a lot of vocab here, a lot of tools that we use at the dinner table when we're having dinner. So let's listen to the dialogue again and review.
Honey, can you set the table?
Sure. What are we having for dinner? Do I need to put anything out in particular?
Well, make sure to put out the pepper and salt shakers. I don't know if your brother is coming tonight, so set an extra placemat just in case.
Okay, should I use the fancy silverware?
Yeah, go ahead. Forks, spoons, and knives. I roasted some meat, so be sure to put out some steak knives as well.
I'll also set some cups and saucers for some coffee after dinner.
Honey, have you seen our soup bowls?
They're in the cupboard where you keep the gravy boat and serving dishes. Just be careful because the wine glasses are also the...
Oops.
All right, we're back. So now we have 4 key phrases that we've prepared for you on Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
Okay, so this first phrase is very important, especially as a child. Your mother or father might ask you to do this. The phrase is to set the table.
Okay, so that's a phrasal verb, to set the table. And what does it mean if you're asked to set the table?
It means you will put down the plates and the silverware and the bowls so that everything is prepared for dinner.
Okay, so this is actually what we were doing, and a complementary phrasal verb to this. When you're setting the table, as you said, you are putting down or putting out the different spoons, knives, dishes, all that stuff.
Right. So the verbal phrase to put out means to place down or to make sure that you get something out on the table. In this case, my mother would usually ask me to put out extra glasses for water. Okay. Or don't forget to put out the wine glasses in case we're drinking wine. It just means to place down.
Exactly. So just remember that it's we use it because all these things, they're inside the cupboard. So you have to take them out. So you have to put them out on the table. All right, and sometimes we may have a guest or we may need an extra chair or an extra seat because we're having company, and the person in the dialogue said to set an extra placemat just in case.
Okay, so placemat is basically a piece of plastic or maybe fabric that you put in front of a person when they're at the table. So it's on the table, and it's something that protects the table. So it's small, everyone has one, and the bowl and the silverware will go on top of that placemat. But it also indicates that that is where someone will sit. Okay, so to put out or to set out an extra placemat means to prepare an extra place for someone else who will be coming. So if you have a guest, for example, you'll set out an extra placemat for him or for her.
Okay, so we can say set an extra placemat because by this we're referring that somebody is going to sit down at the table, or you can just simply say set an extra place for someone.
That's right. Set an extra place. Your older brother is coming home from college tonight.
Okay. So we can set an extra place for him at the table. And, well, in this case, we didn't know if the brother was really coming or not. So she said, just in case.
This is a great phrase, one that you'll hear all the time. It means I'm not sure what the result will be or what the outcome will be, but in case something happens, or just in case we should do this. So, for example, Marco, I think it's going to rain today. You should bring an umbrella just in case.
Okay, so this is a way of saying you're preventing something, you're prepared. Maybe if it does rain, you'll have an umbrella. Just in case, bring your umbrella. Mm-hmm. Okay, so a lot of great phrases there, a lot of vocab, so why don't we listen to the dialogue for the last time?
Honey, can you set the table?
Sure. What are we having for dinner? Do I need to put anything out in particular?
Well, make sure to put out the pepper and salt shakers. I don't know if your brother is coming tonight, so set an extra placemat just in case.
Okay, should I use the fancy silverware?
Yeah, go ahead. Forks, spoons, and knives. I roasted some meat, so be sure to put out some steak knives as well.
I'll also set some cups and saucers for some coffee after dinner.
Honey, have you seen our soup bowls?
They're in the cupboard where you keep the gravy boat and serving dishes. Just be careful because the wine glasses are also the...
Oops.
All right, we're back. So talking about dinner and silverware, there are also a couple of other names that we didn't mention. For example, many people refer to ceramic plates as china.
Yeah, these are usually the fancy kinds of plates and dishes that you have in your house. Obviously, if you have just kind of cheap ceramics that you can throw away, or even paper plates, those aren't very important. But at a wedding or in a special occasion, a person or family might receive chinaware, china, and that is very nice, very pretty porcelain plates or just lacquerware.
Okay, so you can call it chinaware, which is basically plates that are either very fine ceramic or porcelain, as you said.
That's right.
Or what was the other word that you said before?
Lacquerware. Lacquerware is a certain kind of plate or ceramic that has a kind of sheen to it. It's got a special kind of basically paint job.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it's always been kind of strange, the fact that a name like China would also now be related to plates, but apparently, I guess because Chinese porcelain is renowned as being such high quality, I guess this is why now we just have a word for it called china or chinaware.
I think it actually has to do with the fact that the Chinese in the old days sold, most of the British bought their porcelain from China, and so it was very, very in vogue. It was very popular, and it was basically the only thing that the British wanted. They just wanted all of this china, and it became a part of the vocabulary then.
Yeah, it's really strange though that you would call something China. It's like I don't know any other country that you call something, like French. This is a French, or Frenchware. Sure. I don't know. I can't think of any.
Limoges is the name of a city in France, and it's a certain kind of ceramics.
Oh, there you go. All right, so an interesting topic. There are many other tools that we didn't mention, like salad fork and ice cream spoon. I don't know. There's so many. Sometimes if you go to a fancy dinner, you will have maybe 3 spoons, 3 knives, 3 forks, and you don't know what to do with it.
Start on the outside and go in. That's my one recommendation.
At the table, a world of food and tools. When people sit down to eat, they do more than just eat food. They share stories, learn about each other, and enjoy time together. Eating is not only about what is on the plate, but also about how we eat and what we use to eat. In different countries, people have different ways of eating. Some use chopsticks, others use forks and knives. Some eat with their hands. It's all part of the culture. In this topic, we will explore food and eating at the table. We will talk about the names of common foods, the meals of the day like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and the tools we use when we eat. These tools can be forks, spoons, plates, bowls, cups, and napkins. Knowing the right words will help you when you are in a restaurant, at a friend's house, or even setting the table at home. You will also learn how to talk about what you like and don't like, how to ask politely for something, and how to describe what you see and taste. This topic will help you feel more confident when you eat with others and speak in English at the table. Let's begin our journey into the world of food, eating, and table tools. It's time to sit down, open your eyes and ears, and enjoy the language of meals. Talking about food and meals, what we eat every day. Food is something we all need, but it is also something we can enjoy. In English, there are many words to talk about food and meals. Every day, most people eat 3 main meals: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Some people also have a small meal between meals. This is called a snack. Breakfast is usually the first meal of the day. In some countries, people eat bread with butter or jam, drink tea or coffee, and have eggs or fruit. In other places, breakfast can be rice, soup, or even vegetables. Some people eat cereal with milk. Others might eat yogurt or drink juice. When you want to talk about your breakfast in English, you can say, "I eat toast and eggs," or "I drink orange juice in the morning." Lunch is the second meal. People often eat lunch in the middle of the day, usually between 12 and 2. Lunch can be something light like a sandwich, a salad, or some soup. But it can also be a full meal with rice, meat, and vegetables. At school, students often bring a lunchbox. At work, many people eat lunch in a cafe or bring food from home. To talk about lunch, you can say, "I usually eat rice and chicken," or "I have soup and bread for lunch." Dinner is the last big meal of the day. Some people call it supper. Dinner is usually in the evening, around 6 or 7. Families often eat dinner together at the table. This meal can be bigger and more special. It might include meat, or fish, potatoes, or pasta, and some vegetables. Many people drink water, juice, or tea with dinner. Some have dessert after dinner, like cake, ice cream, or fruit. To talk about this meal, you can say, "We eat pasta with sauce for dinner," or "I like to eat salad and fish in the evening." Snacks are small foods we eat between meals. You can eat a snack when you feel a little hungry. Some common snacks are fruit, nuts, chips, cookies, or crackers. You can also drink something like milk or juice. To talk about snacks, you can say, "I have a banana as a snack," or "I eat some cookies after school." It's also helpful to know how to ask other people about their meals. You can ask, "What do you eat for breakfast?" Or "Do you like spicy food?" You can answer by saying what you eat and what you like or don't like. For example, "I don't like coffee, but I love tea," or "I like pizza, but I don't eat meat." When talking about food, you can also describe how it tastes. Some food is sweet, like candy or cake. Some food is salty, like chips. Other food can be sour, like lemons, or spicy, like curry. Some food is soft, like mashed potatoes, and some is crunchy, like carrots or crackers. You can say, "This apple is sweet," or "I don't like spicy food." By learning these words and sentences, you can talk about food in your daily life. You can tell your teacher, your classmates, or your friends what you eat, what you like, and what you want. Food is a big part of our lives, and talking about it helps us share and connect with others. Eating is not just about putting food in your mouth. It's about choosing, sharing, enjoying, and sometimes even cooking. As you learn more English words about food and meals, you will also learn how to enjoy your meals in new ways, with new people, and in new places. The tools on the table naming and using what we eat with. When we sit at the table to eat, we use many different tools. These tools help us enjoy our food and make the meal more comfortable and clean. These tools are not just for decoration, they have names, and they each have a job to do. Learning the names of these items and how to talk about them in English is very useful, especially when you're eating in a restaurant, setting the table at home, or having a meal with others. Let's start with the basics. When we eat, we usually use a plate. A plate is flat and round, and we put most food on it. Some people also use a bowl, which is deeper and used for things like soup, cereal, rice, or salad. Plates and bowls can be made of glass, ceramic, metal, or plastic. You can say, "I have pasta on my plate," or "She eats soup from a bowl." To eat food, we often use tools called cutlery or silverware. The most common ones are the fork, the knife, and the spoon. A fork has long metal prongs and is used to pick up food like meat, salad, or pasta. You can say, "I eat spaghetti with a fork," or "He is using a fork to eat his salad." A knife is used for cutting food. Some knives are sharp for meat, and some are not very sharp for spreading things like butter or jam. You can say, "Please pass me the knife," or "I need a knife to cut this chicken." A spoon is round and used to eat soft or liquid food like soup, yogurt, or ice cream. There are also different types of spoons. A teaspoon is small and used for stirring tea or coffee. A tablespoon is bigger and used for eating. You can say, "She is eating soup with a spoon," or "I need a teaspoon for my tea." Next, we use cups and glasses for drinking. A cup usually has a handle and is used for hot drinks like tea, coffee, or hot chocolate. A glass is used for cold drinks like water, juice, or soda. You can say, "Would you like a cup of tea?" or "I drink water from a glass." On the table, we also find napkins or serviettes. These are used to keep our hands and faces clean while eating. They can be made of paper or cloth. You can say, "Use a napkin to wipe your mouth," or "There are napkins next to the plate." We also use tablecloths and placemats. A tablecloth is a large piece of cloth that covers the whole table. It keeps the table clean and looks nice. A placemat is a smaller mat that goes under the plate. It helps protect the table and keeps everything in place. You can say, "The tablecloth is white," or "Each plate is on a placemat." Sometimes, especially in restaurants or during special meals, we also see salt and pepper shakers. These are small containers that hold salt and pepper. People use them to add more flavor to their food. You can say, "Can you pass the salt?" or "He is putting pepper on his eggs." In some meals, we use serving dishes or serving spoons. These are bigger dishes and spoons used to give food to everyone at the table. One person takes food from the serving dish and puts it on their own plate. You can say, "The rice is in the big serving bowl," or "She is using a serving spoon to give everyone some salad." There are also pitchers or jugs, which hold drinks like water or juice. They are used to pour drinks into glasses. You can say, "He poured some water from the pitcher," or "The juice is in the jug." When we know the names of these items, we can talk more clearly about what we need or what we are doing. For example, if you're eating with friends and want something, you can say, "Can you pass me the spoon, please?" or "I need another napkin." If something is missing, you can say, "There is no fork on the table," or "I don't have a cup." In English, we often use polite words when talking at the table. Words like "please," "thank you," and "excuse me" are very important. For example, "Please give me the salt," or "Thank you for the spoon." Using polite words makes the meal nicer for everyone. Every item on the table has a purpose, and by learning these words and how to use them in sentences, you will feel more confident when eating with others or speaking English during meals. Whether you're having a simple breakfast or a big dinner with family and friends, these tools help us enjoy our food and make the meal easier and more enjoyable. Speaking at the table language, politeness, and interaction. Mealtimes are not only about food. They are also moments of connection, communication, and shared experience. When people gather at the table, they do not just eat quietly, they also speak, listen, and interact. This part of the topic explores how people use English during meals in everyday settings. It focuses on the language of politeness, the vocabulary used to ask for things, and the common expressions that create a friendly and respectful atmosphere at the table. In English-speaking cultures, speaking during a meal is often gentle, polite, and respectful. The words people use are usually soft and friendly, especially when they are asking for something. When someone wants an item from the table, they often use expressions that show care and good manners. These expressions are not direct commands. Instead, they are requests that include polite words. For example, words like "please," "thank you," and "excuse me" are used very often. These words help people sound kind and respectful. They help build a peaceful and enjoyable environment at the table. Politeness is very important in these situations. Even when someone needs something simple, such as a fork, a napkin, or a glass of water, they use soft language. They do not take things without asking or reach across others without saying something first. Instead, they show awareness of others and speak carefully. This kind of language use is especially important when eating with guests, elders, or people we don't know very well. Another important part of speaking at the table is offering food to others. In many English-speaking homes, people often offer food to those sitting nearby. This action shows generosity and attention. It also shows that the person offering food is thinking about others, and not just about their own needs. Offering food in this way is a kind habit, and also a part of everyday language learning. It teaches learners how to express care and share what they have, which are meaningful parts of both culture and communication. At the same time, learners also need to understand how to respond to food being offered to them. In English, the responses are usually gentle and thoughtful. Even when someone does not want more food, they still speak in a polite and kind way. Speaking clearly but kindly shows emotional awareness and helps build positive relationships at the table. In many cases, meals include not only eating but also casual conversation. People may talk about their day, share stories, or ask questions. These conversations are often simple and relaxed. They help everyone feel comfortable and included. This kind of small talk is a part of everyday life in English-speaking countries. Even simple topics like the weather, plans for the evening, or comments about the food help to build friendship and connection. During a meal, people might also need to say something when they make a mistake. For example, if someone drops a spoon or spills a drink, they might feel embarrassed. However, in English-speaking cultures, it is common to use polite language in these moments too. Saying a quick word of apology using a soft tone, or smiling to show that it was an accident helps keep the mood friendly and calm. These small social habits are just as important as grammar or vocabulary. Another area of communication at the table happens at the end of the meal. When people finish eating, they often say something kind. They may show appreciation for the food, or they may thank the person who cooked or served it. These habits teach learners how to express gratitude and recognize the efforts of others. Speaking in this way is a simple act of respect, but it also builds deeper social skills and emotional understanding. All of these language habits, from asking for items to offering food to making polite comments, are powerful tools for English learners. They show that learning a language is not only about using words correctly, it is also about using language to build relationships, show respect, and create harmony with others. By practicing these expressions and actions in real situations, learners develop confidence and fluency. They begin to speak with care, listen with attention, and act with kindness. These are not only useful language skills, they are life skills. They help learners grow not only as English speakers, but also as thoughtful and respectful people in any culture. Table manners, culture, and language understanding mealtime beyond words. Eating is one of the most important human activities. It happens every day, in every country, in every home. But eating is not only about food. It is also about how we behave, how we show respect, and how we connect with others. These actions and habits are called table manners. In English-speaking cultures, table manners are part of everyday life, and understanding them is important when learning English. By learning how people eat, sit, act, and speak at the table, learners gain more than just language. They gain confidence, cultural awareness, and a deeper understanding of communication. In many English-speaking countries such as the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia, meals often include routines that help everyone feel comfortable and respected. These routines include being polite, eating carefully, using clean tools, and thinking about others at the table. For example, many people wait until everyone has their food before they begin eating. They try not to make loud noises while chewing, and they avoid placing their elbows on the table. These small actions show good manners and help create a pleasant experience for everyone. One important part of table manners is the way people use their eating tools. Knives, forks, spoons, plates, bowls, and napkins are all part of this routine. People learn from a young age how to hold these tools correctly and use them gently. These tools are not just for eating. They also help show respect. Clean tools and quiet movements send a message that the person cares about the people around them. In some homes and restaurants, people also use cloth or paper napkins to keep their hands and face clean. These are placed on the lap or beside the plate. Using them shows attention to cleanliness. When someone finishes eating, they often place their knife and fork together on the plate. This is a silent sign that the meal is complete. Another important part of eating in English-speaking cultures is the idea of sharing and showing appreciation. People usually express thanks for the food. They also respect each person's turn when food is being served or passed around the table. This kind of behavior helps everyone feel seen and included. Speaking with kindness, making eye contact, and showing gratitude are quiet, but powerful ways to communicate without using complicated language. As English learners explore these cultural habits, they also discover how manners and customs can be very different in other parts of the world. In some places, people eat with their hands. In others, they sit on the floor or use chopsticks. In some cultures, meals are very quiet and respectful. In others, they are loud and full of laughter. In some countries, eating with the left hand is not polite, while in others it is normal. Understanding these differences helps learners become more open, more careful, and more respectful when they use English with people from many backgrounds. For example, in many Asian cultures, making noise while eating noodles is a way to show enjoyment. But in English-speaking cultures, quiet eating is usually preferred. In some parts of the world, finishing everything on the plate shows respect, while in others, leaving a little food shows that the guest is satisfied. These differences are not mistakes. They are part of culture. Knowing this helps English learners avoid embarrassment and understand that every culture has its own style of eating. Even when table manners vary, the goal is the same: to eat with care, respect the people around you, and create a space for connection. This is why learning about table manners is not just about following rules. It is about understanding how language and culture work together. It is about becoming part of a larger world where food brings people together. At the same time, learners can also review and strengthen their English. They can remember the names of tools like plates, bowls, and spoons. They can use everyday words like meal, dinner, and breakfast. They can understand actions like serving, pouring, cutting, and wiping. These are small but useful steps toward fluency. By learning how to talk about meals, describe food, and understand cultural habits, English learners grow in more than one way. They become better speakers, better listeners, and more thoughtful guests or hosts. They become people who can enjoy meals in new places, with new people, and still feel confident. In the end, sitting at a table is never just about the food on the plate. It is about kindness, curiosity, attention, and care. And for the English learner, it is also a place where language becomes real, useful, and full of life.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Prepare the table so as to sit down and eat. To set the table. Anything specific. Anything in particular. Eating utensils, fork, spoon, knife. Silverware. To bake uncovered, especially in an oven. To roast. A dish used for serving food. Serving dish.
Let's try that faster.
Anything specific. Anything in particular. Eating utensils, fork, spoon, knife. Silverware. Prepare the table so as to sit down and eat. To set the table. To bake uncovered, especially in an oven. To roast. A dish used for serving food. Serving dish.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
To set the table. Everyone knows that the proper way to set a table is to turn the knife towards the dish and not away from it. To set the table. Kids, supper is almost ready, so please set the table and call your dad. To set the table. I think I will set the table with our crystal glasses for our guest tonight. Anything in particular. I'm not looking for anything in particular, just browsing. Anything in particular. Did you want anything in particular for your birthday? Anything in particular. Is there anything in particular I can do to help you clean up? Silverware. She brought out her good silverware for the dinner party. Silverware. The only drawback of having silverware made of real silver is that it tarnishes easily. Silverware. He polished the silverware before every use. To roast. He roasted the beef until it was tender. To roast. She tossed some vegetables in a pan, then put them in the oven to roast. To roast. The turkey took most of the day to roast, but it was well worth the wait. Serving dish. The guests admired the creative arrangement of cheese and crackers on the serving dish. Serving dish. Can you put the stir fry into a serving dish and then place it on the table for me? Serving dish. My aunt and uncle gave me a beautiful clay serving dish as a wedding gift.